Alright, today we're here working on Seth's car. We have to do upper ball joints and upper control arm bushings. So I'll show you on the right hand side exactly what all that looks like and how it's done, and should be pretty straightforward, but thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride. The car's already jacked up, so we're just gonna rip the wheel off. So this is what we're looking at getting out, this ball joint here and the bushings back here. We already did the outer tie rods last fall, so this is the next step so he can get a wheel alignment. First thing you got to do is pull this cap for the nut for the upper ball joint. Then you got to pull the cotter pin out. Now this is a 17 millimeter, so put a wrench on, break that nut, and then it's a little crusty, so need the wrench to spin it all the way down. Now this nut is really thin, so it's not a good idea to hammer on it. You can use a ball joint separator, but if you are reusing the ball joint, you damage the boot and then you have to replace the boot. So I like to use a much larger castle nut from the lower ball joint and thread that on. So we thread that up until it's most of the way, because that nut will take a better hit from your hammer. Couple of good pops and that breaks loose. And then we can just turn this big castle nut off. So that way you can reuse the ball joint. If you're just needing to take it off to get the spindle or something, you can put the original nut right back on. It's no problem. So there's that. The upper ball joint bolts are there. They're also 17s. So we can just crack those guys. Need to keep the nuts because most new ball joints don't come with them. You can see that guy's really super loose. It wasn't showing play, but it's loose enough that it's gonna need to be changed in the next little bit, so we're just gonna change it now while we're here. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking out this guy and this guy, which are 17 millimeter as everything else that we've been taking out. The driver's side one is a bit more, or sorry, I should say left side one is a bit more tricky because the windshield wiper motor is in the way. So that one can be a lot of fun. But this side is pretty straightforward. All right, so now this guy just comes out like that. And we're gonna take it and disassemble it and change the bushings that are in here to nice new ones, because this does have some play in the in this direction here. So we're going to change the bushings here and here, freshen it up. Okay, so what we're going to need is a 14 millimeter for the bolt side. And yes, I'm doing this in the driveway because I am the driveway mechanic. And then I'm going to put a 14 on my impact and spin the nut off. So I like to keep track of these in the order that they came apart. Now there's a little rubber gasket that goes in that groove. Your bushing kit may or may not come with a new one, but try not to lose it. So I like to just put those in there like that. And now this is what we're actually changing. So first we take our center sleeve out. And we're changing this and this on both sides. To do that, we're going to hammer them out with a punch or a chisel and get ready for the new guys. So that's the new set. This guy and this little ring. This sleeve here goes to the bushing side. And this goes like this. So this goes into here. There's like a little lip that you'll see when I take it off. There's one out. So that comes off. And then a little bit of grease around the inside of it. I'd love to be doing this on a workbench, but it's a little tied up at the moment, so we're doing it on the front porch. Oh, and before we put the new piece in, we should punch out the other side so we're not hammering against a new one. There we go. So that goes like this. See this shape here goes along here. Like that. And then our new sleeve goes down in there. There we go. Changed bushings. Then we just reassemble it. And then tighten it back up. The important thing when tightening it is not to over tighten it to the point where it can't move, but don't under tighten it to the point where it can slop around. I think that's pretty good. You know, it's stiff but not too loose. You can move both sides independently. That's kind of what we're going for. And then it's just the reverse of disassembly. Just gonna put the nuts finger tight on top. And then tighten those up. All right, with those tightened up, now we can move on to putting our new upper ball joint. So your new upper ball joint is going to come with a new castle nut and a new cotter pin and no nuts. Some of them do, but very rarely. So the car is definitely going for an alignment because of all the ball joint changes. So the best thing to do is just line it up where the old one was. So because we're using the original upper control arm, the marks from where the nuts used to be are there. So we're just going to tighten this guy down to that point, which is approximately right there. And it'll be close enough to get to the shop to have the alignment done. All right, so then our ball joint in. Give it a wiggle to make sure we can see the threads. Put our new castle nut, and again, 17 millimeter. And you want to tighten this guy down until the hole for the cotter pin lines up with one of the holes in these guys. There's some speculation as to how tight. I like to just put it reasonably hand tight until the next hole lines up. So I think maybe we'll go one more. And we put our new cotter pin. Bend that guy around, and that's it. Put our little cap back on here. Little 10mm bolts. And then give them a snug. These don't have to be very tight. They just hold that little cover on. And that's it. We have done upper bushings, upper ball joint on both sides. The other side you didn't see on camera, but both sides have been done. And now there's no flex in this guy back and forth. It used to have a bunch of slop back and forth this way where the bushings were worn. So now it's nice and tight and doesn't move around. So when we go for alignment, it's going to be much happier. And then of course, tire back on. And always torque your wheel nuts. I'm not going to show it on camera, but always torque your wheel nuts. And that's it. Job done. We'll see you in the next video.